it's Mo. It is February 9th, and I've started my next book for the TBR Spin. This is my February pick for the TBR Spin. The TBR Spin is a super fun booktube game and a way to read down our TBR. It is created by Sarah at Freshly Read Books, and the rules are very simple. We pick 12 books off of our TBR. It can be our physical TBR, it can be our audio TBR, it can be our e-TBR. Books that we already have, and make a stack of 12 at the beginning of the year. Every month, a little bit before the end of the month, Sarah has sprints and spins a wheel with prompts on it. The prompt that we get leads us to pick the next book. So in late December, Sarah spun the first spin of 2026. We had 12 books. The prompt led us to pick one of those books. In the end of January, Sarah spun the wheel. The prompts led us to pick another book off of our list. So in January, we had 12 books, we read one. In February, we have 11 books, we read one, etc., etc. The book that I picked for February is 5 Midnights by Anne de Villa Cardinal, and this is a YA book. This year I decided that my whole stack would consist of either translated works or young adult / middle grade works, because those are two areas of my TBR that I'm really trying to read down this year and make sure that I read some of those books each month. 5 Midnights is a YA horror. It's like young adult, yes, the characters are like between 16 and 18, but it's got very adult themes. It follows Lupe, who is half Puerto Rican and half Vermonter from Vermont, America, Vermont, United States, and she is going to Puerto Rico for her annual trip. She usually goes with her dad. Her mom left them a long time ago. She struggles with her relationship with her dad because he is an alcoholic. And at the minute that she's going to get on the plane, her dad tells her that he's not going with her this year. So he says, your aunt and uncle will pick you up at the airport and go and have fun. And so we don't really know like why that is. And actually, I'm about 2/3 of the way through this book already, and I kind of sort of just found out. So that's not really one of the main mysteries. This book starts on July 4th. Lupe gets to Puerto Rico on July 6th. We read this book from Lupe's perspective, and we read it from Javier's or Jave's perspective as well, who is a friend of Lupe's cousin Izzy, or Isador. Those are the two main perspectives, and then we do get a couple of other perspectives from various people. Sometimes we get an Isador perspective, sometimes we get other people who are involved in the story. Right when Lupe gets to town, there is a gruesome murder that her uncle is investigating, because her uncle is like the chief of police for Old San Juan. So she already tries to insinuate herself into this case because she loves to talk to her uncle, her tío, on the phone and discuss his cases, but he's like, no, you can't discuss this case. But of course, Lupe takes it upon herself to start investigating, and that's how she meets Javier, and that's how she discovers that her cousin Izzy is missing. So Javier and Lupe have a very tenuous relationship, but also an immediate attraction, and they start to help each other, try to solve the crimes that are being committed, and trying to find Isador. Like I said, there's a lot of adult themes in this book. There's definitely like sexual tension and sexual feelings between Lupe and Javi. There's a lot of talk of drugs and drug use. There's like explicit drug use in some aspects, especially heroin, because Javi, Issei, and some of their friends have become addicted to heroin. Javi is on the wagon and has quit using. Of course, looking into the deaths of his friends and the crimes that have been committed kind of bring up a lot of feelings for him. So there's a lot of talk of rehabilitation and rehab, but then there's also a lot of talk of potentially falling back into these negative habits and using drugs. So it's very adult in a lot of ways, but it's told in a very young adult tone. So like the chapters are a little drawn out. There's a lot of description about certain things, but not other things. There's a lot of reiteration of ideas. Lupe is very sensitive to only being being half Puerto Rican and looking very much like a white person and not fully understanding the language and not fully understanding the culture. So every single chapter, Lupe is talking about how she feels like an outsider and people are calling her an outsider and she's mad that they're calling her an outsider, but she feels like an outsider. So there's like a lot of repetition, and then there's like texting and like text speak. And so far I'm liking it. It's just extremely slow and drawn out. I don't know if young adult novels need to have this like stretching out of tension in a way that makes it not feel tense. You know, we're dealing with like very serious topics. Javi's friends are dying, Lupe's cousin is missing, she's disobeying her uncle, feelings of her dad's alcoholism are coming up. There's a lot going on and a lot of things to be like worried and nervous and tense about. It doesn't feel very tense. It doesn't feel very exciting. It doesn't feel... So I don't know, is that just because I'm an adult and I've read so many adult books? Is that because a more tense and intense book would be too intense for younger readers? I feel like I would have really liked this book when I was younger, partly for the Spanish words that are in here because there is a lot of mix of Spanish language, partly because it's like there's a little bit of a love story blossoming, partly because it's that idea of going away on vacation and being an adult, which I always was wanting when I was a kid. Like I always wanted to, when I went on vacation, like have a grand adventure and be seen as an adult and do adult things. So I think I would have really liked it as a kid, but I still think it would have been too slow. Like this book is over 300 pages. Well, just under 300 pages it looks like. Yeah, 282. I mean, stuff has happened, but it doesn't feel like anything's happened really. Like we're getting their relationships, but it's really drawn out. We're making connections, but the connections are really drawn out. We're finding people to help or who have information, but it's really drawn out. Like, I don't know. It's taken me a long time to read. I feel like I've been trying to start this video ever since I started this book, and I read a couple of chapters every day, but I don't have the attention span to read too much more of that, although maybe tomorrow I'll just finish it if I can. It seems like the chapters start to kind of go faster, or at least we're getting multiple perspectives within each chapter, it looks like, so maybe that will like push the action a little bit and make it a little bit more exciting. Overall, I think if you were a teenager, you would very much like this book. I think if you were a young adult, it would seem too young to you. I think if you're interested in Puerto Rican culture, this is a good one to start with. This is a Puerto Rican American author. I don't have too much to say about it. The other thing that I'm supposed to be reading is Beloved. I didn't bring my copy in, but I got that in the last TBR Spin because if you will recall, this year in 2026, I'm not only reading my 2026 reads for TBR Spin, but I'm reading the 4 2025 reads that I didn't finish in 2025. In the first video, I talked about a book that I DNF'd in 2025 for the TBR Spin, and in that video, I also picked another one off of that list. I watched the spin for the corresponding month, and I got Beloved by Toni Morrison. So I do still need to read that. I've been putting it off, so I'm hoping that I can finish that before I finish this video. If not, it can go into the next video too. That's fine. What I do with every video is when I'm finished with this book, I will come back when the next spin happens and we'll watch the spin together and we'll pick the next book, my March pick for TBR Spin. Let me know if you're participating in the TBR Spin. Let me know what your pick for February was, and when I read some more, I'll let you know. Fine. I am not much of a YA reader, so I just need a reason to read them, and I think the TBR Spin is a perfect way to do that. 5 Midnights felt very slow. It felt very drawn out. It felt very boring in places to me as an adult reader. I think as a teen reader, I would have really liked this. I would have loved the setting, which was cool, and I did enjoy as an adult reader. I would have loved the little bit of romance. The mystery felt very drawn out. The mystery felt very obvious. obvious, but like all those things would have been fine, I think, if I had read this as a teenager, and I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more. Overall, I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting. I would continue on with the series. There is another book called Category 5. There is question in this book of whether Lupe is going to stay on Puerto Rico, or if she's going to go home to Vermont, or if she's going to travel between the two more frequently. So I don't know if the next book is following Lupe. We also meet Marisol. We also meet Javier. We also meet Father Sebastian. So there's lots of other people who the next book could be following as well. And I'm interested in enough that I would definitely read it. I wish that this was on audio, because I think I would have had a more fun time reading this on audio. I think it would have just gone faster. It would have felt faster. It is March 1st, and I just saw that Freshly Read Books is doing her spin and sprints for the TBR Spin for March. Really quick, let's go through my TBR Spin pile right now. I have The Floating World by Cynthia Kodohata, How Do You Live by Jensiburo Yoshino, Blonde Roots by Bernadine Evaristo. This is actually the book that I originally picked for February and then changed my mind and read 5 Midnights instead. So I might kick this off if there's an opportunity. Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. I would be very interested to read this because it is a novel told in verse. My Documents by Alejandro Zambra. Atlantic Hotel by, I always forget how to say this, Gilberto Noel, and this was translated by Adam Morris. My Documents was translated by Megan McDowell. The Woman in the Dunes by Kobo Abe, and this was translated from the Japanese by E. Dale Saunders. Pedro Paramar by Juan Rufo, translated by Margaret Sayers Pendon. Monkey, A Journey to the West, retold and translated by David Cardian. And God Dies by the Nile by Nawal Al-Sadawi, translated by Sharif Hatata from the Arabic. So that's my spin list, quite a few. Let me pull up Freshly Read Books channel. And like I said, I think the spin has already been taking place, so I'll have to backtrack a little bit to where the actual spin is. Let's see. Okay, so they're actually still talking about the spin. This has actually only been going for not that long, 37 minutes it looks like. So let's see what the spin says. Interesting. So the prompt says, swap any book you choose with another book by the same author. That's your pick. If none of those work, you are safe from the swap. Read the shortest book on your stack. So I suppose if you had a book that you didn't have another author by that you wanted to swap out, you don't have to, you can read the shortest book. But that is exactly what I wanted, because I don't think I want to read Blind Roots. I am just not in the mood for it, and I'm getting a little sick of middle grade and young adult at the moment. So I am going to swap this out for another Bernadine Evaristo book. I have two. I have Girl, Woman, Other, which could be interesting and I think I can get on audio. And I have Mr. Loverman, I think it's called, which I got pretty recently in the end of 2025. I don't know which one. I'm leaning towards Mr. Loverman. Is that what it's called? Mr. Loverman? Let me see if I can find it. So I can find Mr. Loverman, but I can't find Girl, Woman, Other. I don't know where it is. So I am inclined to read this one. They're both quite long. This one is, well, just over 300 pages. That's not too bad. This does look like it's kind of short, not short chapters, but like a lot of dialogue, and it looks like the font is quite big and the margins are huge, so I think that might be cool. This is the one I'm definitely leaning towards as my swap out for Blonde Roots. Definitely happy to swap this out. That was the TBR Spin for February. I read 5 Midnights, and my next book for March might be Mr. Loverman. I did also start reading the October 2025 prompt, and I'm reading Beloved. So we'll come back here in March at some point whenever I start my next book. Let me know if you're participating in the TBR Spin. Let me know what your spin choice was for March. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!